Hi guys, and thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, I'm Marilyn, and if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. Now, I have been working on a project for Valentine's Day. I know it's really early, but I wanted to start ahead of time so that it would be ready by December. I'm going to stitch out in this SewTech magnetic hoop that fits my Poulin EOC06. I'm going to stitch out one of the blocks that I've made so far. Now this frame is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. I'm actually stitching out a 4x4 design. So for this design, in addition to this magnetic hoop and my Poulin EOC06, I'm going to use this thread. I'm going to use some dark brown thread. I haven't picked it out yet. I'll use this fabric and this fabric. I'll use some cutaway stabilizer. And then for batting, I'm just going to use some white t-shirt fabric. Now about these frames, the Poulin actually has 3 sizes of frames for its EOC06, and I have this brand of hoops in all 3 sizes. If you're interested, I'll put the links to those in the video description below. I already have my design loaded on to my Poulin EOC06, and just making sure over here that the right hoop is selected on the panel. I'm using a 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch magnetic hoop from SewTech. I like using these hoops on the Poulin because I find it much easier to hoop items on them versus the traditional hoops that you get with the machine. And if you're wondering why my table looks so unstable, I have my machine on a cart with wheels, so that's why it moves around a bit. We're going to start with just cutaway stabilizer hooped up. And my first stitch will be a placement or position stitch for my batting. And I use the word batting loosely because I'm just using t-shirt fabric that came from one of my husband's t-shirts that he gave me. This next stitch will sew the batting to the stabilizer. So let's lift the presser foot and just place it over the position stitch. Then I'm going to remove the hoop and trim the batting up close to the stitch. That will make it where there's less bulk when I stitch the blocks together later, but trimming the extra batting away is an optional step. Now that that's done, I'll add the hoop back to the machine. Now the stitch for the background fabric is just outside the batting stitch. Plus, we need to have enough extra fabric on all 4 sides for whatever seam allowance we want to use. I like to have at least a 1/2 inch fabric on all 4 sides. Then I can trim the block down later to the precise size that I want. Once this tack down stitch that goes around the fabric's complete, it goes straight into the quilting or the stipple stitch. When the quilting or stipple stitch is done, I'm going to go ahead and change my thread color to a dark brown for Cupid's bow and arrow. Now let's lower that presser foot and press start. For the bow and arrow, I digitized them using run stitches and satin column stitches. I used run stitches for the string on the bow, and then I used satin column stitches for everything else. Now it's time for the placement or position stitch to show us where the applique fabric for our Cupid will go. While my design's been stitching out, I've been getting my applique cut file loaded onto my laser so that I can cut the fabric, which already has heat and bond light on the back, with my laser. Now this is a CO2 laser, but you can also use a diode laser to cut fabric. Using a laser makes for a quick and precise cut. Look at how great this cut looks. I'm going to remove the hoop from the machine so that I can press that fabric down, but let me show you just how well this fabric was cut to be placed in or on those placement stitches. So I'm going to go press this down with a little mini iron, change my thread back to bright pink, and then I'll be back. Now the next stitch in the design is actually a tack down stitch. But since my fabric was pre-cut and it's already ironed down, I'm going to skip that one and go right to the satin border stitch. And I'm going to fast forward through most of this because it's about 7 minutes worth of stitching. Okay, let's remove it and see how it looks. I love it. I think it's so cute. And now I'm ready to digitize some more blocks for my Valentine's Day project. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until my next video, bye-bye.